have joined Out Comes the Sun podcast. This is our 5th podcast. We're super, super excited. I'm here with my partner, Melissa Yamaguchi. Sorry, Melissa. Hello.
Hello.
My partner in crime and my co-founder of the Mariel Hemingway Foundation. Such a clever name, but it really means MH Foundation, which means mental health. Today, I'm so excited because I have a guest who's a really important person in my life, and also just an incredible woman and a friend, which is awesome. Her name is Biet Simkin, and she is, how do you describe you? You are an extraordinary, well, you're a meditation teacher, but you're so much more than that. You're kind of a spiritual leader, and you're a spiritual leader who comes from such a modern place. I was listening to your music. I mean, I listen to your music all the time, but it's so wonderful to have this voice of spirituality coming from somebody like yourself. I should read a little bit of your bio because it's actually kind of extraordinary. So Biet is a world-renowned meditation leader, dubbed the David Bowie of meditation, which I love. She's also a musician. She's an incredible singer and musician, and she puts amazing things together. And she has a wonderful album out called Mercury, which is on Spotify, which is just beautiful. And each song is like it's like a spiritual lesson. I love it. I love it. I listen to it, and I know, because I know you, I hear things in it. Anyway, your life is extraordinary. I could go on and on. You were raised by a shaman in New York. I mean, you've got a life that nobody else nobody's had a life like yours. And you've gone through addiction and all kinds of crazy things, loss of a child. I mean, like, heartbreaking, challenging, extraordinary things that have gotten you to a place where spirituality is like your center, and you share that, and you're a teacher and you're a leader. So we're excited to have you. Super excited. It really means the world to me that you would come at such short notice, because I know I didn't give you much time. Maybe yesterday. Anyway, so I'm not letting you speak, but I'm going to. 1 second. I want to tell you what we've been discussing on the podcast lately. Melissa and I have been talking about spirituality as it pertains to mental health. And we've both come to this kind of conclusion that one of the biggest reasons that mental illness is such a problem is that we're spiritually bankrupt as a world. We kind of lost our connection to something greater than ourselves. And I'd love for you to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm in the process of shooting my course. Like next week, I'm going to Joshua Tree to shoot my new online course, which is going to be like a blend of breath work, somatic work, and meditation. And I was just talking to my team about what is it that, why am I doing this? Why do people need a course? Why do people need my work? Why do people need spiritual work in general?
Right.
And I said the grand statement to which because I have a team that, what do you call it, reels me in, but I was like, my work is the solution to all problems. And my team was like, that's too grand a statement. Like, you can't say you solve all problems. And I was like, sorry, there's like a sound. Is that okay? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay. So, but the truth is, it's not about me, although thank God for some reason I am a conduit of this incredible work. But it isn't about me. The fact is this: spiritual work is the solution to all of our problems. And why is that? That's because all problems stem from a spiritual problem. So if you don't have a spiritual problem anymore, then you don't have any problems anymore. Like, you used to have we crashed our car yesterday, like into a wall. It wasn't like a big crash, like no one got hurt. It was like we parked it weirdly into the garage, and now we have to spend $5,000 on like a dent. You know how it is with cars. Anyway, the point is that like that would be a problem. But because I have a spiritual solution, it's like, that's not a problem. And many things are not problems for me because I have a spiritual solution to them. And to me, having a spiritual solution dissolves all problems. So when you're talking about mental health, it's like the mind is actually designed to be it's a problem solving machine. That's all it's meant to do. But we've assigned it every task known to man. We're like, oh, I'm having this depression. I know what I'll do. I'll just shove it into my mind. I'm sure my mind will know what to do with that. And the mind is like, I'm here to like figure out like really simple, like, okay, where do we pick up the eggs from the store? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm here to remember what is the color blue. That's my only job. And we give it these really big emotional tasks, and it cannot handle those things. And so that is, as a society, that is what we're doing. We're moving everything we have, all of our physical problems, all of our emotional problems, all of our grief, all of our sadness, all of our memories, we're moving it all up to the mind. And then we're just thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. It's like, who wouldn't have a problem if that's your freaking, process? So to me,
it's so true. It's fascinating because you're right. It's like we take all of these things because we think the brain's so, vast and amazing, which it is, but also it's not designed to handle physical issues or the crash into the garage or whatever it is. So we shove them up into the brain, and that's, and the whole thing about, spirituality is like, meditation is like, get out of your mind, like, quit putting it all in your mind. Don't think it through, feel it, be in it. Right?
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah, I think you are correct. You and I have very similar, processes, whether we're doing breath work or we're walking in soil or we're walking with animals or looking at the sky. There's so many ways to get out of the mind and get into the body, but it's painful. I think that's the other thing is people don't want to do is they don't want to feel pain.
Yeah.
So exercise is painful. Meditation is painful. Breath work is like everything's painful. Somatic work is painful. The first thing you do when you do somatic work is feel feelings. And like, as a person, like, I'm like a very heady individual. I come from a background of deep intellectuals, a long lineage of intellectuals. And like, what I have found is that intellectualism has driven me to deep, deep despair. So there's nothing wrong with intellectualism. I'm very excited that I've read many, many books. I will continue to do so. However, when it comes to processing my feelings, I no longer try to use my mind for that exercise.
I want you to address this, Melissa, because you, like Biet, are an incredibly well-read, intellectual person, and I'm wondering if this resonates at all. If you recognize that kind of mental overload that happens to all of us, right?
Well, there's a couple things I want to address, and first and foremost, the David Bowie of meditation. I'm hooked on it. And I'm thinking because I was telling Slater during the break that I think I got to sex up my feng shui work, and so I'm going to become the Tina Turner of feng shui. I just want that out there. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of what you're saying that I'm part of our job here is to gather as much information from you, the wise one, that we can distill among and disperse it, if you will, amongst our audience. And I'm listening to you as though I'm a member of the audience, listening to what you're saying, realizing this in a lot of the work that I do, I deal with a lot of young people. And by young people, I mean 17, 18 to like 25. So there's this genre of kids that are like leaving high school, in college, out of college, or in the work field. This gap here, and a lot of them are stuck. And when I hear you speaking about how we're taking these feelings and processing it up here, I'm intrigued by you, and I will answer what you asked me, Mariel, but I'm intrigued to find out from you before we close this at some point today, some tools that we can give our audience, because when I listen, in my lack of information on this makes me feel despair that I can't help, right? And so I can imagine how a parent would feel, or a counselor who's trying to guide a young person who's overthinking, and triple thinking, everything when they've got to leave it alone and they don't know how to leave it alone. It's stuck in this hiccup, this repeat loop of overthinking, whether it's through something on social media or it's through texting, which is a large portion of their communication, not the face to face. So they overthink each word and comma and placement of the, right? So it stresses them out to a level where they become paralyzed, literally paralyzed. So, but as far as I think maybe with all of the background of reading and this push for higher education that I was driven down that path as a young girl, and then my parents and grandparents. There's all these higher, PhDs and MBAs and all that, and yeah, I was driven down that path. I think what saved me was that I have just enough irreverence that I would take classes and realize that some of my professors weren't that bright about certain things. And I didn't fault them. I wasn't looking for their Achilles, but I just realized they were human. And so I didn't get as tripped up. And it's not that I was looking for flaws in other people to justify my own. I just didn't get as tripped up. I don't have that stress level. I do have a respect for it, but I just kind of pull away from it. Where my stress comes now is what I just shared. My feeling is though I can't help. I don't know how to help. I don't have the tools to understand how to guide anybody who's struggling from all those things that I just shared. I'm intrigued to learn from you what to do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's where
Well,
where you come in. I mean, literally, you do. I remember I had my first session. I didn't really know you, right? And you were like, "Not a problem. Oh, I've addressed this. Here's what's really wonderful about Biet that everybody out there needs to know. She's experienced everything she's sharing with you, right? I'm not wrong in saying so.
everything.
So everything comes from, oh, I've been through this. I get this. I know this one.
Yeah.
You're having trouble with whatever, manifesting or this or that or whatever it is. Oh, I've been there. I went down that path. It's okay. I've got your hand, right? I'm here with you. I'm holding space for you to like move through this. And you do it in such a way that is not, which will be great for, if you do have tips for especially as young people, you, because you speak in a way that's like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm 60 and you're like the cool person who's like a rock and roll star, right? so,
Well,
so
it's
you have
relatable.
you
I
have a
think it's
relationship.
relatable.
What?
Yeah. Well, what you see depends on where you stand.
Yeah.
And if you've stood there, then you know how to relate. And the number one thing that I keep hearing from people when I talk to some of my clients is they just want to be heard. And they think if you don't see them, then you don't hear them. And so you're standing in a position where you're relatable. And I think that's probably that's a superpower.
Well, you said I'm standing, and it comes down to like the way I describe my work is that like I walked out of hell backwards. And so, yes, I lost my daughter to sudden infant death. Yes, my house burnt down. Yes, my father died of a heart attack. Yes, my best friend hung himself. Yes, that happened all within like a span of 2 years. And to me, that's a fire, and many of your clients, these young people that you're speaking about, and all the people that Mariel helps, they're struggling with their own fire. And what I teach people how to do is walk out of the fire backwards. That is to say that you need to get out of there, but you need to always have one eye on the fire. Like the
Yeah.
fire is not bad. It's not something to be forgotten. It's not something to put in regret. Like I do not regret the past. I do not regret losing my daughter. I do not regret the tragedies that I've endured, because to me they're fire within me. But I've walked out of it, but I still see it. And so that fire connects me to people. And to answer your question, Melissa, there's a couple things. I founded a breath work system, which in 4 breaths gets you to a state as high as mushrooms, LSD, tripping on drugs. So, and whippets and heroin. And I've actually done all of those drugs as a former drug addict myself. I was looking for a solution to find these altered states without hangover, without the destruction of my bank account, the destruction of my family, the destruction of my life, cheating on my husband. I didn't want to do any of those things. So I'm like, well, how am I going to create a sustainable life but still feel high AF? And a lot of these kids, if you're working with youth, they want to get high. They want to get high because it isn't that long ago that they were high all the time. Pre-age 7, we're just wasted.
Yeah.
We are walking embodiments of the divine. And then we get plucked right out of that at 7 into some little level of reality. And at 12, we literally get plucked into hell. And from hell in puberty, and this really confusing biological, no one teaches us how to be in our body. No one teaches us how to dance or move or shake or breathe. And here's the other thing, breathing. Like, this is a breath. But I don't think of it as the last breath of my life. I have the distinct notion, and it's a false notion, that I will have many breaths to come. And the truth is that it very well could be the last breath of my life, and yours and yours. We just take these breaths for granted. Each one of them is our last dying breath. And when we teach people how to breathe, when we teach them how to move, when we teach them how to embody their pain, what happens is they actually start to get back into the only place that exists, which is not their tweets or their Instagram. It's the present moment. That's all we have. We think we have, oh, well, in 5 years, I'll buy this, $5 million home. Or we think, oh, in 10 years, I'm going to, whatever. Like, it's not fucking going to happen. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse. Point is like, you can't do anything. You can't do anything in 10 years. You
Right.
can't do anything outside of this moment.
Absolutely. It's so good. And Melissa, her breath work is truly profound. I have done no drugs because I'm terrified, and I think you are. But it is this, I was doing them this morning, and it's profound what it does. It's just 4 breaths, and I do maybe 4 sets, maybe 8 if I'm greedy and I want lots of feeling, but it's like unbelievable. And it always, and whenever I do them, when I get that temptation to think, well, maybe I should try this psilocybin, like maybe I should microdose,
Right.
and it's only a thought because I get too scared, but I feel, I know that feeling is so profound because it makes you feel, and I don't, I've read a tremendous amount of spiritual books of like samadhi, but it does, you have this sense of like being one with everything. It does bring you into the present moment, and the tactile senses of your entire body and the visuals in your mind. It's just, it's wild. It's wild. And I haven't done drugs, so there you go. It's wild to me.
Wild to both of us. Amazing.
So good. Well, I love that. Okay, so here's another thing that you asked me. We were going to do a little workshop. COVID was so crazy, and we were all like, I don't know if this is going to work. But you asked me a question, and it was so compelling because I think of myself as somebody who can address things honestly, and like I can go to the core of something and like get really raw. But I think, and I was trying to find where I wrote the question down. Of course, I couldn't find it. So I'm going to bastardize the question, but you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. So you said, so when we do this, I want you, because we're going to ask everybody this, I want you to think of something, your biggest secret. Was it your biggest secret or your biggest lie? I couldn't remember.
I think it was a secret. I think it was, secret.
The biggest lie was
Which
like,
can sometimes be the same thing. Yeah.
Might be. Yes, I think it was the biggest secret. Like the thing that just kind of like makes you feel, a little creepy, right? Because you have to admit it. You had to. So I sat there kind of knowing what it was, but not really wanting to admit that that's what it was, right? That it was that. So it's very interesting. And I loved that you were super willing, because you just said, yeah, this is my thought. I'd had this thought, and I was like, whoa, right? But you say it. And once you say it, it's like, it's just a word. It's, to me, because mental, so for mental balance or health or whatever you want to call it, and I don't, it's actually an inappropriate term. It's really about living life in the present moment, right? What we're talking about. It just, so I just lost my thought.
So secret.
You were
So
talking about the
secret.
secret,
yeah,
the
because that
question.
secret really wants me to just stay clear away.
It wants you to
Anyway.
share it right here on
Oh
the
my
podcast.
God.
That's what it
Yeah,
really
I know.
wants.
I think it left me.
Everyone's at the edge of their seat, Mariel. They're just waiting,
At
you
the
know.
end of I honestly can't remember. I was like, I don't know. I'll get there. Maybe by the end. How many more minutes
No
do we have?
worries.
Like 10? I'll
Something.
figure it out. Anyway, so when you kind of address those those embarrassing questions, those shameful kind of secrets that we have that we kind of bury inside, do you feel that that um unlocks bigger stories? Do you know what I mean?
No, it's not so much about stories. It's about pressure, right? So basically everyone's
Ah,
walking around like a pressure cooker, and everything inside them, many secrets, many articles of shame from
Yeah.
our childhood, from our adolescence, that we are holding as if it's really important. And they even may be things that we're currently feeling, like sexual preferences, or kinks, or just like things you're like, I don't think I want to tell someone at a party that I barely know that part of me. Or like, I
Right.
don't want people to know, or even like as simple as like, I don't want people to know certain aspects of my personality. I want them to see me as pious or good or kind and
right.
generous. I don't want them to see me as someone who's a user and a bitch. And I'm just like, what if those parts of you are also beneficial to us all? What if the fact that you're using people is actually a positive feature, especially when you think about features as a holistic experience? If I was just pious 24 hours a day, maybe that wouldn't be very beneficial to the world. Maybe that would not work, because I don't actually think I would be famous. I don't think any of those things would have happened if I was sitting around just being like, I just don't care. There was needed to have been a desire inside me to affect the lives of others, right? So sometimes we think something's really shameful. I used to have a lot of shame about the fact that I wanted to be famous. Like, just even that felt really like, oh God, don't hit me. Like, don't think I'm bad, because
Yes,
I'm just like everyone else. I'm so normal. I'm not
I
special.
understand that one. Yes,
So yeah.
yes,
So the last thing
yes.
I'll say about that is the shame piece is the pressure. And so again, sometimes just doing the opposite, like the thing that we think is going to make us uncomfortable, like sharing the secret publicly, or even like so much as sometimes I'll have my clients dance around and like talk about their deepest, darkest, gross, like shame moments to a mirror so they can like get into it. It's like super like, what is that word? Cognitive dissonance. Like it's
Yeah,
kind of taking something that's very uncomfortable, like
Yeah.
and squeamish, like, oh God, like this is a part of myself I'm just grossed out by, and then actually seeing how it's sexy and it's cool, because on the one hand, yeah, but it connects you to everybody, and almost everyone can relate to
can
those
relate to those
gross,
things.
disgusting, yeah, features. Most people, I've never been at a big event where I've shared my secrets and everyone ostracized me and left the event. It was quite the opposite. People were like, oh,
Thank
me
God.
too, I'm so ugly, I think I'm fat, I want to like be raped when I'm having sex. Like people are just like super like come out of their shell and start saying things.
Yeah, no, it's great. And yeah, and I so relate to the kind of fame thing, the admission that, you want to affect the world. I want to be, I
Yeah.
want to have an impact. I want Mariel Hemingway. I called it Mariel Hemingway Foundation. I was acting all like coy about it, but I did it for a reason, right? If I'm really honest about it,
Yeah.
yeah, that I want my name out there and I want it to be associated with that. That was just okay. That was the secret.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, the shame
I
thing is
want to be
fascinating to me
important.
because the shame thing is a fascinating thing to me because it binds us, and it's slammed on us at some point in our life. Oftentimes from 0 to 5, we start getting little things of no, ladies don't do that, and young, we don't do that in this family, or whatever that is that starts manifesting, right? And then I see it a lot as it plays out in an eating disorder, or some self medication, some form of self medication, because there's
Mm.
so much shame around whatever we heard, whatever those family mores, not even social mores, the family mores of what's right from wrong. And so we walk out of the house not knowing does it how everybody else is thinking.
Right.
I see it a lot. I think there's something terrifying about admitting that secret, but then I can see why it would be extremely liberating. It's like it's facing it. It's facing it. The monster under the bed's never as hairy as we imagine he is.
Well, and what's
Especially if we're
great
standing there
about
with a
it,
razor.
I know
Yeah.
that when I speak, probably similar to you, Biet, is that everybody share. You know what's also very interesting about sharing a secret? Somebody will tell you, "Oh my God, my secret's exactly the same," or my story, my, you don't call it story, but my background, those icky feelings are the same. We have the same thoughts, and they'll explain theirs, and they're nothing like yours. That's what I find interesting, because it's really just this connection of feeling, right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
really what the thing is, it's how it makes that person feel. So you made them feel the exact same way that they feel, right? So I find that interesting, because it's not the words, it's not the yada yada, whatever. It's the, how does that make you feel? At first you're squeamish, at first you want to repel and like look like you're a good person, and then you're like, I'm so fucking cool. Oh my God. Wow, this is the sexiest thing I've dealt with in a long time. Like, it's weird,
Yeah.
it just shifts. It's like it transforms into something. I love that you make all of your pieces part of you, that makes you great, that makes you human, and our humanity is that we are flawed, and that we are having our dips and things. And it's just about acknowledging them, and getting back to where we are now. Do some breath work. Here I am, right? But it's
Yeah,
also,
I
you
think
have to acknowledge the past. I think you have to acknowledge the past, where it comes from, so that you can let that shit go. See, I swore.
yeah, and also you can't let it go either, because there is no past, there is no future. It's coming for us at every minute. And I think that's the other lie that we've been sold, is that enlightenment is this thing that happens, and once it happens, we are rendered perfect. We are the Buddha, we are whatever the storytellers have come before us who lied and told us that that was the finale. For me, that was very misleading, and I was looking for enlightenment from the time that I was a little girl, with a awakened teacher for a father who was also spinning the similar lies that everyone has spun, which is, I reached enlightenment and now I'm free. And so, and because he really was walking the walk, I was like, well, this is a man who isn't really like filled with contradictions, so maybe there really is an end point. But I myself never found it. I never found it. I myself kept finding, I would find enlightenment, I would have a white light experience of the highest degree, like that, noteworthy of one best-selling book after another. And then I would be, follow that with depression, with overeating, with feeling
Wow.
alone, with flaws, with etc. And then I would have another white light enlightenment experience followed by etc. And this would keep happening until finally I was like, maybe I just have the narrative wrong. Maybe enlightenment isn't a static one and done experience, but it's actually something that we have to return to over and over for fun. And what helps me the most as an enlightened person today is that I don't mind all the things that come inside of enlightenment. And for me, enlightenment is a holistic experience, inside of which is flaws, sadness, pain, loss, grief,
Yes.
despair. I mean, those things are not excluded. And I think that since I've allowed the wholeness of my life to exist, I'm no longer constantly beating myself up every time it doesn't look perfect or feel perfect,
Right.
which feels great.
That's awesome. I love that so much, because there is that thing about spiritual teaching. It's just let go, just let go. How do you let go? How, and I've sat there in meditation going, I don't know how to, what does that even mean? And I've even
Yeah.
spouted it, not knowing really what it means to let go. Like, and people who are in pain, in the moment, in pain, right? Having these experiences, you can't tell them to let go, right? Experience what you're experiencing, and then know that that will shift probably to a different experience, right? Because that's life, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's the way to look at mental health, is that it's going like this, and realizing that, but also knowing how to live your life. And I've shared with you that I think lifestyle is tantamount to finding, the best version of yourself every day. Now, and that could be a sad version, but at least you're armed to deal with the situations that come up with response, not reaction, right?
Yes, I agree with you. And I'll just add one thing. While the mental condition is like this, while life is like this, there is a part of us that is never changing. There is a part of us that is made out of light.
Yes.
And I refer to that as the soul. And so, like, I do both and, you know what I mean? I just don't expect my soul to be running the show 100% of the time. Sometimes my soul is running the show. How fun and how groovy, because that's so great for my vanity. And then sometimes, like, the part of me that sucks is running the show. Sometimes I'm yelling at my husband, or
Right.
sometimes I'm like, upset, or, I get an email and I feel like I'm a loser, whatever. Like, that stuff happens, but that I know that's not my soul. And so it's fun to watch and observe. I can observe it. And also, I love what you said about let it go. Yeah, you can let it go, but how? You need actual tools, like Melissa was saying. Like, these kids need tools. They can't just be told to let it go. They need practices and right actions that help them to actually feel a release, both physically and mentally, so that they can keep moving to the next moment and the next moment and evolving.
Yeah, absolutely. So
A lot
I
of
would
things that
go ahead, Melissa. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, a lot of things that I hear from these kids also is, I'm doing everything right. I'm doing what I'm told. I don't understand what's happening. What's happening with, I don't understand why I can't send my resume. I can't send that application. I can't
Mm.
text that boy. I can't, they get paralysis and they don't know how to move, whether it's up, down, sideways. They have no idea. So they understanding to stop. I love this breath work. I love this because that is something anybody can do anywhere, anytime. There's no right or wrong way when you're just taking a deep breath in to begin. Just take a breath right now, and then learning the systems. And I'm going to get on and study this, trust me. But one thing you said about life is never changing and ever changing at the same time is one of the major tenets of the I Ching, which I teach. And there's that tenet that life is never changing and yet ever changing at the same time. It's January through December as we understand our Gregorian calendar, but then this January is nothing like last January, and hopefully it'll be nothing like next January. So there's a real satisfying beauty to that whole notion with our mind and soul and spirit as well. The only thing is I got to figure out the fluctuations on the weight thing. It's usually just around the holidays. Other than that, I think I'm okay.
Oh my God.
I
I
hear
could
you.
talk to you forever, but I know we've got like a small window and we only have a little half-hour show because we wanted to give people just a little taste of you, and then they want so much more. So they're going to go to all your cool, at Guided by Biet, Biet, Guided by Biet, and Biet Simkin.com to see more information about you. You are an extraordinary human being that I feel very honored to know and call a friend. Thank you so much for being on our show, and I hope you'll come back because you're amazing. You're amazing, amazing, amazing. And Melissa, I don't know. There you go.
Thank you. It was so great meeting you. Thank you so much, Biet, for your time. Truly.
Thank you all. Such a joy. And I look forward to seeing you all soon.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Out Comes the Sun. You can listen to our podcast on Spotify, on Apple, and on YouTube. And you can donate to the Mariel Hemingway Foundation at the MarielHemingwayFoundation.org. And I want to spell Hemingway for you, HEMINGWAY.org. I only say that because a lot of people put two M's, and that just won't work. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, you can go to the donate button at the bottom and it will take you right to a link with the QR code. And if you go to marielhemingway.org, you can also press the donate button and be able to donate to the foundation, which is designed to help guide people towards finding the right solutions for their mental health issues. That is my goal. I'm just trying to raise money so I can come up with an app and a website that has all the information you could possibly want to know about mental health and where to go. But we are in the process of making that happen, and your donation means so much to us. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.